Okay.
We are back again in House Government Operations and Military Affairs, changing gears to hear from a witness that's very important to us, our chair, Representative Matt Byron, to introduce the amendment to the charter of the town of Panton. Welcome, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Yes, so aside from my role as the Chair of House Government Operations and Military Affairs, I'm sitting before you today as the lead sponsor and primary shepherd of this charter amendment proposal. And we do have the Panton Town Manager here, so I don't want to go too deep into this as this is something he's spent far more time crafting. But what you see is this charter is basically laying out protocols, function, and guidance to a recall of town officers. There are a couple of instances historically which led to the desire of the municipality to have this in their town charter. Again, I would defer to Mr. Rowe when he provides testimony for greater detail on that. And it is, 3 pages with really the brunt of the meat being on page 2. Sort of just lays out this practice should the committee choose to adopt.
Thank you. And can you tell me when this vote was held?
This vote was last year, the town meeting day. No, it was, yep. So I believe all that information is in the charter packet or SharePoint.
Perfect. We will look that up in the vote count as well.
Yep.
May 15th, 2025.
But we don't have the.
I'm sorry, March, May?
May 15th, 2025, but don't have the vote count.
Okay,
I have it.
okay, great. We'll ask you when
Loaded.
we
Oh,
call you up. So barring any questions for our witness? No? Okay, well, we can.
chance.
Can you tell us what your connection is to the town of Panton?
We're connected by about like 1.75 miles of border from
That means
Bridgeton.
22A.
All right.
Let's
Very
get that
good.
geography together.
It's always good to get a geography lesson.
A lot of coastline.
Coastline, I like
Yes.
that.
A
Oceanfront
lot of
property.
oceanfront property.
Yeah, there's a lot of estuary as well. A lot of land mass, not a lot of population.
Big word late in the day.
Mhm.
Is that where the wildlife refuge is?
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Dead Creek, which is a
Yes.
name for a wildlife
Yes, it is.
bustling activity.
Dead Creek.
Now, is Basin Harbor Panton or is that
No.
Virgins?
Ferrisburg,
Ferrisburg.
Okay, now that we.
but it's got a Virgins.
Geography lesson. Shall we have our council come up
After the day
next?
was
Have I been relieved?
You have.
Thank you.
Council, would you like to join us,
They don't
please,
release themselves.
and explain what we're looking at here on H953?
Good afternoon,
Table
members.
continue to be yours.
Again. My name is Tim Devlin, Legislative Counsel, and for you, you have a bill as introduced, specifically H95. And this is, let's see, a proposed to the Charter of the Town of Panton. This bill proposes to approve an amendment to the Charter of Panton to adopt procedures for the recall of elected town officials. So first, we start off with section 1, which is kind of our boilerplate amendment, charter amendment prelude language. The General Assembly approves the amendment to the Charter of the Town of Panton set forth in this act. The voters of the town approved the proposals of amendment on May 15th. Section 2 is indeed where we have the meat of the bill, and this is where we have, let's see, specific statutory reference to charter, the Town of Panton's charter is in 24, Title 24's appendix, Chapter 129F. And we omit the only 4 existing statutory sections in this charter that we, for the purpose of this bill, and we'll add a new section 5 to be titled Recall of Elected Officers. So, and I could, I think it's just easiest just to read it verbatim, really, and I can stop with any questions as we go through.
Excuse me, Tim.
Yes.
Before you continue, I have a question. Rep. Pincinel has a question. My question is, currently in statute, there is no pathway to recall an elected town official.
Not generally in Title 24. Other towns do have them. I think there's about 20 other municipalities and then 7 wastewater and wastewater water districts that have.
And are those specifically called out in their charters? Is that how they are? So there's no statewide overarching way of recalling elected.
Correct, no generalized power for municipalities.
You and Rep. Pincinel?
So just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, in chapter 129F, 1 through 4 are staying.
Yes,
We're adding 5.
correct.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
You can continue.
Section 5, recall of elected town officers. A, any elected town officer may be removed from office subject to the following conditions and procedures. 1, a written petition signed by not less than 15% of the registered voters of the town, seeking the removal of a town officer and requesting a vote of the town officer at a regular or special town meeting called for the purpose. Shall be filed with the select board and the town clerk. 2, if the petition is filled out not more than 60 days and not less than 47 days before the next regular town meeting, the select board shall place the question of whether the elected officer shall be removed on the warning for the next regular town meeting. Otherwise, the select board shall call a special town meeting to be held within 45 days after receiving the petition to vote on whether the elected official should be removed. In either case, the recall vote shall be held by Australian ballot. 3, when the petitioned removal is approved by a majority of the voters cast at the, a majority of the votes cast at the regular or special town meeting, the town officer named in the petition shall cease to hold office. 4, the officer shall be removed only if at least as many registered town voters of the town vote to approve the petition as voted to elect said officer in the most recent election wherein the officer was elected, or at least 1/3 of the registered voters of the town vote, whichever is fewer. We move on to B. A vacancy resulting from recall of an officer shall be filled in the manner prescribed by law. And C, a recall petition shall not be brought against an individual more than once within any 12-month period. We'll move on to section 3 of the bill, the effective date. This act shall take effect upon passage.
Could you go back to number 4 on page
Yes.
2?
So we have thresholds that need to be met. And so we have 2 options, the fewer of which, so either 1/3 of the registered voters or the same number as voted the officer in the most recent election, whichever is fewer.
Rep. Pincinel?
How many registered voters does Panton have?
I don't have that
Approximately.
information.
Do you know?
We'll wait till the word is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions for council? And this looks like it's as soon as the vote is counted and published, the individual will cease to be employed in that position.
Yes, that assumes the regular canvassing procedure. And then once formally declared, the elected official is removed from office. That's a better way to think of it rather than employed.
See if I have any other questions for you. Anybody else around the table? And another important point is there can't be a recall position more than once in a 12-month period.
Yes.
And one last thing that I flagged for myself earlier was that sorry. Sorry, I'm not seeing what I had flagged in my head. Oh, town meeting. Town meeting, meaning like any special meeting or a select board meeting? What is a town meeting?
Town meeting, because of its capitalization, is the town meeting day.
Okay, it is the town meeting day.
Yes, and there's nothing in their charter that designates that to be other than the statewide town meeting day.
Okay, so then my question is line 11, on page 2. Otherwise, the select board shall call a special town meet.
Mhm.
So if, for instance, the individual gets elected on actual town meeting, March 3rd or whatever it is, and then 2 weeks later, a petition appears, the select board could call a special meeting soon, within 45 days of receiving the petition, does not have to wait until the town meeting the following year. Okay. All right, good. Thank you very much. I think that's it, unless anybody has any more questions for Tim. Thank you, Tim. And we'll call up Kyle Rao.
Thank you very much, members of the committee and representatives. Just a clarification, I'm the town clerk and treasurer.
Misspoke the title.
And, although, as I'm sure you all know, town clerks and treasurers in small towns often are de facto administrators and things like that. I didn't prepare any written statements. I'm happy to discuss the petition, the history behind this particular thing if you'd like, or I could go straight to questions, however you'd like to proceed.
Why don't we start with a question that was already asked, the number of registered voters in town
Sure.
and what was if you had it?
Yes. So perhaps it would be helpful if I go a little bit into the history of what happened because it's connected in some ways to that. So Pan has 597 registered voters. In 2024, Pan experienced a bit of political upheaval due to a reappraisal, due to the potential installation of a huge solar field, a variety of things. This led to some discontent among some folks in town, particularly aimed at the select board. In 2020, the end of 24, December 9th, I took over as town clerk and treasurer, and in January was handed a petition by a resident of town to amend the town charter to allow for the recall of elected officials. Now, unfortunately, that petition was not, didn't comply with state statute about the way that it has to be warned. It's an additive process, not a singular process. And in fact, in one of your previous bills here in your committee, you took up the fixing of that, and I would advocate that you take that up again at some point in the future. But regardless, she delivered it after the deadline. So what happened was the select board decided to review the issue and discuss the issue amongst themselves, and then offer to include it as on the ballot at a special town meeting with the provision in item number 4 of the bill included. That was the select board's addition. The original charter proposed by the resident in the town contained no such provision, meaning that a recall petition could just happen and you could be recalled by any number of people who decided to show up at a regular or special town meeting. The reason this has relevance, as I'll tell you, is so at the town meeting, I should add, they also, the residents of town expanded the select board from 3 to 5 in the same kind of time frame. And at the town meeting, regular town meeting held in 2025 to expand the select board, which was one of the questions, 170 voters voted. It was about a 28% turnout of the registered voters in the town. The select board then held a special town meeting to not only at this point to vote on the charter question, but also to elect the 2 new representatives. That's being the process. And at that town meeting, at that special town meeting held later in the summer, several months after March's usual normal Vermont town meeting, 103 voters in the town voted, a 17% turnout. So obviously, the select board had been somewhat correct in their concerns that a special town meeting or other town meeting could potentially attract fewer registered voters, which means that a person could be recalled with far fewer votes than actually elected them. And so ideally, putting this provision in, saying there has to be cause and cause enough for the townspeople to come out and participate in this process. Already a 15% signatures or registered voter petition is a high threshold. And then add on to that, more voters, or at least a third of registered voters in town participating to allow for the recall of the elected official. The charter question passed 56 votes to 39. So approximately 54% to 37%, with 7% of people or 8 voters not voting.
Pincinel,
When you said that you did that later in the summer, did you do it at the August primary?
There was no August primary in 2025.
Oh, I think 2024. So it was done at that May.
It was done at the May special town meeting, yes.
I was thinking 2024 when you were talking about the dates.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a whirlwind experience for a new town clerk to get all this on my desk within the first 4 months of me being on the job. So it was a real education. I should add that this bill language was taken directly from Underhill, the town of Underhill, which has a charter amendment similar to this to allow for the recall of people without, however, Section 4. Section 4 was added by the select board and myself. And it was reviewed by VLCT and by the town's attorney at the time.
So 15%, you're talking 50, 60, 90 voters. Roughly 90 voters.
Yeah.
okay, any additional questions for the town clerk? Okay. Well, that was pretty short and sweet. Thanks for coming all the way here.
Yeah.
I've actually never been to the State House before.
Oh, well, your representative should take you on a tour.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I appreciate it. And I just as a aside here, but connected to the charter issue, I would ask your committee to take that issue up again of the additive process by which a charter amendment has to come before, because it's very confusing to residents who aren't schooled in legalese and the language. And so what it was her petition had to be withdrawn and was in fact moot because she didn't submit it within the proper statutory timeframe.
And is that spelled out somewhere in, I mean, I assume it's spelled out in statute, but is it somewhere like on your website or?
It is now.
Okay,
I actually held a special meeting with the petitioners. I called every single one of those people who originally signed the petition and explained to them the situation. I went back and forth with Garrett Baxter from VLCT and had this much text as he explained it to me, because it's, as I said, an additive process. So it's 47 days plus 47 days. And, because of the way that it has to filter out, it could use some simplification.
and I would encourage you to work with VLCT to come to us in the fall for that, or even this spring if they have time and want to take it up, if they see that it's an issue in other towns. And they certainly can suggest it to us.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time here.
I do have,
Oh, yeah, sure.
so this petition, was it to get rid of you? Oh.
I'm an appointed town clerk and treasurer in the
okay.
town. There was,
Well, you just got elected and she brought in a petition.
well, there's no love lost anyways, but I am an appointed position.
All of my tongues are
The aim was at the select board.
Select board.
Yes, and particularly probably one person on the select board. It's a very targeted, not to say that it doesn't have merit, and the select board decided let the voters decide. They have absolutely, but with the inclusion to make sure that it wasn't just this process by which a person would be recalled by whoever showed up on a sunny or on a rainy or snowy day someday when a special town meeting was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Enjoy our beautiful state house.
Absolutely. No, it works.
And with that, I think we are done with our business for today. So now